question number 2, we're having the market value to be 50, 40, 28, 22, and 13,000, and we're going to conduct analysis for 4 years, only 4 years. Maintenance and operational cost is going to be 15,000 every year. And now let's go find the annual worth for the market value. So now imagine that you're going to keep this asset for 1 year, only for 1 year. The market value for 1 year is PMT 10% 1 year, and select the 50,000. That will give you 55,000 as a the annual worth for that. And the salvage value for that, if we're going to keep it for 1 year, would be 40,000. PMT 10%, nothing for the PV function per meter, but we're going to use the 40,000 as the FV, and it's going to give you the same value, 40,000. Now add the 15,000, negative 15,000, add the market value for the initial cost, add the salvage value, and we found out the annual worth to be 30,000. Adding these 3 values, again, the maintenance and operational cost, the annual worth of the market value, the annual worth of the salvage value. Now we're moving into another scenario. We're going to say, okay, we're not going to keep it for 1 year, we're going to keep it for 2 years. So we're going to do the same thing for 2 years. And maintenance and operational cost, still the same thing, 15,000. Now let's calculate the market value if we're going to keep that for 2 years. PMT 10%, 2 years, and the PV would be 50,000. What is the PV? What is the equivalent of the market value? That would be equal to 28 if we're going to keep it for 2 years. Do the same thing for the annual worth of the salvage value, and we know if we want to keep it for 2 years, at that point the salvage value would be 28,000. We're going to get a salvage value of 28,000. So we need to do a conversion for that to find what would be the annual worth of the salvage value. PMT 10%. We're going to keep it for 2 years. Nothing for the PV per meter here, and the future value would be that value that on C15, which is 28,000. All right, we're done with that. Now add it together. That will give you 30,476 as the total annual worth for this asset. Now moving into year 3, we're going to keep this for 3 years. What is the initial cost? We still have the 50,000. What is the salvage value? Is 22,000. The maintenance and operational cost, 15,000. Again, we're dealing with the 3 values. One is the initial cost, which is going to be constant all the years, 50,000, no change. All we need to do is to find the annual worth over the 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years. And the salvage value, it's also here. Some people get confused. Where did you get the salvage value? I did receive a question from the online section of this class saying, you did not give us the salvage value. Where's the salvage value for that? Well, if you're going to keep this asset, for example, for 3 years, the 22,000, this is going to be a salvage value. After 3 years, once you sell this asset, you're going to get 22,000. So what we need to do, we need to convert, again, 3 values. One is the initial cost, which is the 50,000 here. Second is the salvage value based on the year that we're going to replace it. So for here, we're going to replace it after 3 years. The maintenance and operational cost is going to be 15,000. So let's do that. What is the market value, the annual worth of the market value if we're going to keep this asset for 3 years? PMT 10%. We're going to keep it for 3 years, and the parameter for PV would be the 50,000. That would be equivalent to 20,106. The salvage value, the annual worth of the salvage value, PMT 10%. We're going to keep it for 3 years, nothing for the PV. The FV would be 22,000. And now add these values together, the 3 values together, to find out the total annual worth for this asset. If we're going to keep it for 3 years, to be equivalent to 28,459. All right, the last year now, we're going to keep it for, again, 4 years. The market value for the initial cost still 50,000. The market value, the 13,000, this is considered as a salvage value if we going to keep it for 4 years. If we're going to keep it for 4 years. Maintenance and operational cost still 15,000. Okay, starting with the annual worth for the market value. Again, what is the market value? It's 50,000. This is the initial cost. PMT 10%. We're going to keep this asset for 4 years, and the market value on year 0 would be 50,000. So that would be equivalent to 15,000. Now let's find the annual worth for the salvage value. And the salvage value, we have it to be 13,000, which is what is the market value by the end of year 4. Annual worth is calculated by using the PMT 10%, 4 years, nothing for the PV. That's why you see the 2 commas, and the FV would be the 13,000. Add these together, that will give you 27,972. Now it's time to make a decision. Do you see where is the point that the price, the total cost is increasing, and at one point start increasing, decreasing, and at one point start to increasing. What you see is 30,470, 28, 27, and we see that the cost is decreasing. We don't see the point where it's going to increase, and therefore the conclusion for this problem is that economic service life is 4 years, because the cost continues to go down every year after the first year of ownership. And that's the conclusion. Again, you have to consider for this question or similar question, you have to consider 3 values. One is the initial cost, which is this one here on year 0. and converted every year. What is the equivalent for that if we're going to keep it for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years? And the other value is the maintenance and operational cost, and this is going to be constant here based on this problem. Some problems will change, will increase, but for this problem, it's constant, 15,000, no changes. No need to multiply it by anything. No need to use any PMT function or any function to convert it because it's already in the annual format. And the last value is the salvage value. What we need to do in the salvage value, we need to find out what would be the salvage value if we want to keep it for 1 year. And this is basically, it is called the market value in this chapter. If we're going to keep it for 1 year, that would be 40,000. If we're going to keep it for 2 years, the salvage value would be 28,000. If we're going to keep it for 3 years, the salvage value would be 22,000. And if we're going to keep it for 4 years, the salvage value would be 13,000. And now add these together to find out if there is any point where the cost will decrease, and at one point will start to increase. That would be the economic service life, the ESL, and that would be helpful. In this case, what we concluded that this asset should be kept for at least 4 years because we don't see an increase over the years, except the first year because you own it, of course. But after that, you will see the decrease for that. I hope this is clarified. Question number 2. I hope you guys learned something from this, but feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions. Any question I can take from you guys?
I just need like more clarification on the annual worth cost, like the total. Which one are you adding up? Like what column?
Okay. I appreciate your asking, Alicia. So let's go over it one more time. So again, we're dealing with three values: initial cost, salvage value, and maintenance and operational cost. Okay. And for this one, this is the easiest. The maintenance and operational cost is 15,000 every year. Now, initial cost, where's the initial cost? This one right here, the 50,000. Okay. Now, the confusion coming from the salvage value. Where's the salvage value? I don't see a salvage value in this question. The salvage value, it's basically the same thing as the market value, but it depends on where you look at it from. So if we're going to keep this for 1 year, then the salvage value, imagine that you own this asset for 1 year and you sold it. What is the market value for that? It's 40,000. And in this case, if we're going to keep it for 1 year, the salvage value would be 40,000. Okay. And if we're going to keep it for 2 years, the market value for that, once I sell it, I'm going to get 28,000, which is considered as a salvage value. And the same thing for year 3 and year 4. Okay. I'm going to focus on one of these years because it's going to make it clear for you. If we're going to keep this asset for 4 years, that would be the salvage value would be 13,000, right? Correct? Are you with me? Okay. So initial cost is 50,000. This is given here. Maintenance and operational cost is 15,000. Done. Now, if we're going to keep this for 4 years, if we're going to do this for 4 years, what is the salvage value? What is the market value for that asset? That would be 13,000. All right. Now, what we should do now? How to find the annual worth, total annual worth of cost? The annual worth of cost, I'm going to write it in equation. Annual worth of the initial cost, okay, plus the annual worth of the maintenance and operational cost, plus the annual worth of the salvage value. Okay, correct? Are you with me so far? Okay, cool. Now, how we calculate the annual worth of the initial cost? The initial cost is in present format, right? Because it happened on year 0. So that would be PMT function. The rate is, what is the interest rate for this one? 10%?
Yeah.
Okay, so that would be PMT, 10%. Number of years. We decided that we're going to keep this for 4 years. Again, this is only one part of it. This is going to give you the 27, the last number, 27,972. But you could apply this, the same technique for year 1, 2, and 3. So for this here, we decided to keep it for 4 years. So number of years would be 4. The PV, which is this number right here, 50,000. Close the parentheses. Nothing for the FV, nothing for that. So the equivalent for the annual worth, the equivalent for the initial cost would be 15,000, negative 15,000. And again, this is a cost. So you should see the negative sign. Now the next parameter, according to this equation here, so we're done with this one here. Now maintenance and operational cost, what would be that? That would be 15,000, right? Correct? Okay. Now the last parameter that we're going to deal with, which is the salvage value. What is the salvage value? It's the 13,000. And this is what? This is future value. We need to convert it into annual worth using the PMT function. And we should have it as a positive because this is the salvage value. Rate 10%. We decided to keep it for 4 years. And then the PV, no, we don't have it. We have the future value, which is the 13,000. Close the parentheses, click OK. And that would give you, a 2,808. Okay, now let's add these together. So what are these? We're going to add the 15 and negative 15, 773.54, negative 15,000, the maintenance and operational cost, positive the salvage value 2801.12. Okay, and now add these together. That will give you a negative 27,972, and that would be the total annual worth of cost. Okay, it's 10:50 right now. If you want to leave, that's okay. You can leave. There is again a video on problem number 8. So take a look into that. Work with your team to submit your work, and we'll see you on Wednesday. Okay, we have a class.
Doctor.
Thank you, Alicia. Did I answer your question? Is it clear now?
Yeah, it is. Thank you.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear that. Any other questions? I'm going to be here for an additional 10 more minutes if you have any questions.
Yes. Could you show me how to get salvage value once again? I just got a little lost halfway through.
That's all right. That's all right. It's common, and I know it's confusing because it doesn't say the salvage value in particular. So what I would recommend, and if you see a question like this, I would recommend is adding another column. I'm going to do that here. Insert. I'm going to shift the cells to right. I'm going to put a salvage value here. So now think about that. If you want to keep this asset for 1 year, what would be the market value for that? That would be the 40,000, right? Correct? And now if we're going to keep it for 2 more years, if we're going to keep it for 2 years, the salvage value would be 28,000.
Yes.
If we're going to keep it for 3 more years, the salvage value would be 22,000. If we're going to keep it for 4 more years, that would be 13,000. So this is what I recommend. I added another column to call it the salvage value because this is what we used to do instead of saying market value. And then I would like to delete that just to avoid any confusion. So we deleted that. And we shifted these market values to be salvage value. Depends on how long I want to keep that. Should I keep it for 1 year? If yes, use the salvage value to be 40,000. If we're going to keep it to 2 years, use the salvage value to be 28,000. And now what we need to do, as you know, the salvage value, it's what? It's in a future format. What we need to do, we need to convert it into the annual format using the PMT function. So if we're going to keep it for 1 year, using the PMT function, 1 year, the salvage value should be 40,000. Again, if we're going to keep it for 2 more years, the salvage value would be 28,000. If we're going to keep it for 3 more years, the salvage value should be 22,000. If we're going to keep it for 3 more years, the salvage value should be 4 more years. We're going to keep it. The salvage value would be 13,000. And now you add the maintenance and operational cost. You add the annual worth of the market value, and you add the annual worth for the salvage value. Add them together, and that will give you whatever the total cost for that specific year. And again, what the goal is to see if this one, for example, if this value turned from 30,476 to 32,000, I would say, okay, well, you should replace it on year 2 because this is where the cost for this asset decreased, and at that point start to increasing, and it's not worth it to keep it anymore. Because if I keep it, it's going to cost me more and more and more. But as long as the total cost is decreasing, that's perfect. This is my goal, is to once I buy an asset, I don't want to keep paying cost on that asset. I would like to invest in an asset, and my hope is the cost over the years to decrease. At one point where I see that the cost for that asset start to increase, I should say, okay, stop right there. This asset needs to be replaced. Again, if this jumped from 30,476 to 32,000, at that point I would say, okay, this asset should be replaced after year 2, because if we keep it for year 3, that will cost me more money, 32,000, and I don't want to spend more money on that asset, and that would be the perfect time to replace that asset.
Okay. Phil, thank you very much, sir.
I appreciate your asking me these questions. Thank you, Nathan. Is there any other questions from other people? Alicia, Anna, or Michael?
Where did the salvage value come from? Was that out of the book?
Well, it is. It is.
I'm gonna thank you very much.
Yeah, Nathan, thank you. You can leave. Alicia, you can leave. Thank you. So let me one more time share this with you. Where is the salvage value coming from? This is a really good question. The salvage value is coming from the market value, basically. The market value, if you look into the book, the table, what is the market value on year 1? Take a look into the book on page 154. You will see the market value to be 40,000, right? And then 28,000. This is the market value. And then 22,000. And this then 13,000. So what I did here to avoid the confusion, I created another column, and I called salvage value. And I moved these values from this column to the column on the right side.
Okay.
Okay. So just to avoid confusion, because I did receive a lot of questions on where this is coming from. Where's the salvage value? Why did you consider a salvage value? I don't see a salvage value here. But eventually the market in this chapter, we don't call it the salvage value anymore. We call it the market value after X time of years. What is the market value after 2 years? Look at that. That would be 28. Okay. So imagine that you're going to keep this asset for 2 more years. What is going to end up is once you sell it, you're going to get the 28,000 for that asset.